today's webinar. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking some time today. My name's Gary Rosen, and I'm here in the Boston office, joined by Ladd Nelson, who's out in the Midwest in Wisconsin. Ladd, is it?
Iowa?
Iowa, sorry. Somewhere out there. I knew you were out there somewhere. And Ladd's going to help out today. He's also going to man the questions and answers, so if you have any questions as we go, type those in, and he'll keep an eye on that. And you know, those of you that have attended some of my sessions before, you know, kind of informal. So, you know, Ladd, if a question comes up and you want to just interrupt me and address it, that's fine. We can save them to the end. Whatever you think is perfectly fine. My mission for today is to cover, talk about, and demonstrate and show some of the details of basically producing plan and profile sheets with Carlson Civil. That's the main mission for today. It's come up and as generating deliverables, and just want to kind of show how we do it with Carlson, and you know, get some thoughts from folks out there and investigate some things. So we're going to just generate some plan and profile sheets from just a simple plan. I'm going to go ahead and change my screen over here. You should now be seeing my actual drawing. That's showing up there?
Yep, you're good.
Okay, good. So just a real kind of simple, you know, plan here. Some of you, again, that have attended some of my other seminars, you may have seen this data set. I think this was actually where we left off on one of them. It's just a couple roads with an intersection and some lots using LotNet and RoadNet, of course, and then I think we probably took this into SiteNet, did some volumes and so on. But this is the one that I want to start with today, and we're just going to investigate how we go ahead and generate some sheets from this. The first thing that I wanted to show you, I've got a couple ways that I want to do this, and I just want to start by going and showing you where these default sheets are stored, and showing you a little bit about what these look like and how you can basically, of course, one of the keys to this is going to be putting your own sheets in there. So this is a little bit of a long path, but I wanted to actually take you to the actual path instead of having something fake set up. So I'm going to go into Program Files. No, I'm not going to go into Program Files. I'm going to go into Documents and Settings, and my login, Application Data, and we're looking at Carlson Software 2008. We drill down into the Support folder. And in this folder are the plan and profile sheets that I ship with the software and have available to you. So the first one I wanted to show you actually is the first one I want to work with, and then we're going to kind of go from there and make it a little more interesting. But I wanted to show you how this works. So there's one I made. I called it Profile 7, and let me just open it for you. This is all it is it is a box that is, in fact, if I check a distance here, I measure across, and I've got, you know, basically 36. I'm not O-snapping, but you get the idea. I could O-snap just to double check here, but it's 36 by 24. So here's a 24 going the other way. So it's a 36 by 24 rectangle. That's all that's here. And the key is, if I draw a line from 0, 0, you can see where 0, 0 is. It's right at the corner of the box. Okay, no particular mystery there. But I want you to see how this ties into what we're going to do. Again, specifically for the purpose of you, you can certainly start with our sheets to get started, but you're going to clearly want to develop your own. And I want to kind of show you, reveal the magic here, take the curtain aside and show you how this is going to work, so you can put this together. Save changes to this drawing, we'll say no, and we'll come back over here to our drawing. So, okay, so we have this Profile 7 sheet, and we have a rectangle which starts at 0, 0. Okay. Now, what we do is, of course, this was generated with RoadNet and all the road files and so on, and there's essentially two profiles. Let me just show you that real quick. I'll go into the road network, and there's the two roads, 1 and 2, and we're generating profiles, of course. This is the long road. It's called Russ, and we go into this profile, and of course, it's called Russ.pro, and if we go and look in there under our settings, and I guess this is good to show, is in the road network under my settings for this road, it says to output a reference surface profile and put a -EX after the name. So this check mark in the settings of the road profile itself, okay, of the road profile editor, in the settings, it says output another profile for existing ground. So when you use RoadNet, you'll always see existing ground. It samples it for you and shows it so you can do your design. But it's not going to write out that PRO file, as Carlson calls these profiles, are all .PROs. It's not going to write out that file unless you tell it to. So you got to make sure that is in fact selected. Okay, so I wanted to show you that's where these files are going to come from. So let's just exit out of here, save changes now. So that's where our files are going to come from. And now I want to go ahead and generate some plan a profile of this long road. So I go to Profiles, and we have Draw Profile. I'm just going to go ahead and clear this so I can start from scratch. When you come in here, and this is 2008, by the way. If you're running 2007, the interface is a little bit different. We put quite a bit of work into Draw Profile in 2008. Shan Lu is our lead developer for this, and she's done a great job and really done some great stuff with 2008. So if you are running a previous version, it's going to look a little differently, or a little different, whatever the word is there, but and you may want to, this may be a reason to kind of look to move ahead as well. So we go ahead and add, and the beauty of this is I can add as many as I want, as long as they're .PRO files. So here's the Russ existing ground. We'll add that one. And here's add, and we'll go with Russ PRO, which is, of course, the proposed finished grade. And I can keep going with as many as I want. And, in fact, my plan here towards the end, or later, I should say, is to go ahead and generate like a nice little sanitary sewer, just a real simple sanitary sewer run, generate a profile of it, and add it to the mix as well. That's my plan. But I want to get through this part first. So you select the PRO files that you want plotted, and of course you get a little preview, and you go, yep, that looks right. And this is the main dialogue that you're going to be working in. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time here to kind of get you familiar with what we've got. Of course, all the options are there to what to draw, what not to draw. And this is, of course, totally up to you to choose. And then each one of these, if you decide to use, then you'll have a setup. So that's this area. We're going to look at that. You're starting and ending stations. Are you linked to the files? If changes are made, do you want these profiles to update? And there's three choices with a lot of these things that we do. We have the linking, or the dynamic quality, is based on three settings: off, prompt, or auto. So we basically leave it up to you. Off is going to say no, don't just leave them alone. If I've drawn it, leave it alone. Prompt is going to say, hey, if there's a change, prompt me that it needs to be redrawn. And auto is just going to go ahead and do it for you. So we'll leave it at prompt. Horizontal, vertical scales, and grid intervals, and fairly straightforward here. And then we get into our label settings, our road profile labels. And you'll see in here when we annotate the road, how do you want to do it? Include the K value. Place the text automatically above the highest point on the profile, etc. You can see all these different kinds of choices, and you can basically try these out and see what they do. Full tangents for the PVIs or partial tangents. You can see what all these things do. There's label settings within here. How does everything get labeled? Symbol settings, what symbols are used in different places, and so on. And so on. If we look at sewer profile labels, if we have a sewer, which we'll have a little bit later this afternoon, how do we draw that for the general settings, for the manholes, and for the pipes? What gets labeled? how does it get labeled, horizontal, vertical, um, et cetera. Okay, so prefixes and suffixes, all the stuff you would expect. Basically, the point here, really, the big mission here is to understand um, totally customizable through these settings, but very simple to access and get to. Um, pipe crossings, how are those going to be labeled? How are you going to deal with those? And pipe profile labels, how are those going to work as well? So each of these you can get into and try things, and then everything is saved. If I hit Save Settings, it's going to go out here and ask for a PFS profile settings file, and I'm just going to call this, what's today, 11:15? I'll just call this 11:15.pfs. It's going to put it in the Web3 folder or wherever else I might direct it to, but that'll do. That's the project that we're working with right now. So everything is saved there and can be loaded from this PFS file. So very important to understand that everything we're doing here is going to be saved out there and loaded. In addition to these things, kind of the real detailed stuff, we also have all the layers that everything's going to be drawn on. The first profile, the second profile, and again, you can see for yourself the grid layers and labeling layers and so on, all totally up to you. The colors that will be used, right now I have everything set to by layer because I kind of like to work that way, but I might want to hardwire some colors in here. You might want to do that possibly. Text styles, what's it going to use for text styles? What sizes is it going to use for different things? And line types. What line types is it going to use to draw different things as well? Okay, so again, quite straightforward for all that stuff. All right, so we move forward from here. Let's look at some of these settings up here. We're going to draw a grid. Let's see what the settings are for that. We're going to draw the grid direction, left to right. We have an adder available, a grid adder to the top or to the bottom. So if we say, okay, it's going to check the elevations that are actually involved in the design, and it's going to basically customize the grid, to fit. But you can say, well, I want a little extra room above or a little extra room below. That's what we call the grid adder. Grid style is grid lines or ticks or dots or whatever. We'll go with lines. Station text, down at the bottom, we'll put horizontal. And then we have things like an elevation bar, which is kind of like a little hatched black and white kind of, reminds me of a race car or something, with a little black and white stripe that kind of shows the elevations. We have a little scale thing that has an X and Y axis that shows the horizontal, vertical scales. And again, the idea is, just try these things. Just click them on, generate your profile, see what it looks like. I'm going to go with draw elevations only on the left for this particular pass. And then we have some settings, like, for instance, offset the station text, which is going to move the station text up and down. And we have a variable for that. And offset the elevation text, which is going to move the elevation text at the ends of the profile left and right. So all these different things that you can basically adjust. And that's basically the grid settings. Now, with draw sheet off, all this is going to happen in model space. It's going to ask for a location in model space. And I can show you that a little bit later just so you can see it. And you basically just say, and it gives you a little preview. And you just click on the screen, and it draws it in model space. And then you can basically proceed with your normal AutoCAD tools and, generate viewports on a layout and zoom up and set the scale. And you can do all that totally manually, which many people are very comfortable doing, and you can continue to do it that way. It's all just real straight, plain AutoCAD, and you can do it that way. But if you say, I want to draw sheets in the software, well, then we're going to go ahead and take over. We're going to try and generate layouts for you. So let's look at these settings. We start with the layout name, and I've called mine GSR1. Let's go with plan _ profile 1. Okay, so this will just raise the number for each layout. And then it says, what block do you want, put on each layout sheet? And I'm going to go with this number 7, this profile 7, just again to get you started. And then we'll come back to 6, and I'll show you the difference. The sheet width is how much, how big is this window going to be? How much plan and profile are we going to generate here, basically? what does the sheet contain? Plan and profile, profile only, plan only. We're going to do plan and profile. And then up above the profile is the plan view, obviously, the window, and it says what's the lower Y and the top Y. So how big do you want this window to be vertically? This is how big the window is horizontally, and this is how big and where and how big do you want the window to be vertically for the plan view. So you can adjust that as well. I'll show you how that works. And then, again, some other settings. Draw a north arrow in the plan view, draw a layout plan view, borders and model space, different things that you can try. We're going to leave those off for now. Now, this one I particularly like, plot it one-to-one, because just after all the years of AutoCAD and really being taught that paper space was designed to be a real sheet of paper that measures correctly, and preaching that to thousands of people over the years as Professor Landnut out there and Electric Pelican Inc. and all the training I did, I said, your sheets should really be one-to-one, plotted at one-to-one. So I like to do this, but if you have a different philosophy, you can shut that off and it'll actually generate a sheet that's 1,500 feet or whatever. But I'm going to plot it one-to-one. And then this one is critical here is where's the sheet lower X? And I've got this set in a place that'll work. I'll show you that in just a second. And a few other variables fit each vertical sheet and so on. We'll leave those off. So this is kind of an important one, the sheet setup. And just like anything else you do, you're going to have to do a little trial and error. I had to come in here and try 2.3 and 2.1, and I kind of had to move it around to get it to look right. You'll see how that works. The other thing I'm doing is drawing a horizontal axis elevations. And that's basically saying down there underneath, I want to show every 50 feet, I want to show existing and final grade. I can adjust the precision for each, so I've got 10th for existing and 100th for final. The size of the text, and the layer and the style. And what I did for final is I made it bold. I decided to use bold. And then there's an offset scaler for where that's going to be located as well, and is it horizontal or vertical. So, again, more settings that you can finesse so that you get a look that you like. And then you basically just save everything. Come in here and we save 1115. Already there, so we replace it. And that's it. And then that PFS file is going to sit out on a network, and basically everybody's going to use that to generate the plan and profile. So with no further ado, I wanted to show you that much. Let's generate some sheets. And it comes back, it says, okay, I'm picking up an elevation range of 444 to 484. Let's go a little lower and a little higher. And I'm just going to take this default for now. I'm going to show you what that does, and I'll show you how you can adjust this. And it says, what's your centerline file, or pick it off the screen. You can pick it off the screen, or you can type C and pick it off the list. I'm going to do that, and it's called Russ. And it just goes to work and generates my sheets. So let's go back to Plan Profile 1. This is my first sheet. And don't be too shocked. This is not a final drawing that I'm going to submit anywhere. Again, what I'm trying to do is just show you initially what's going on here. And exactly, kind of as we described, this is what's going on. And it's using from 440 to 490. And the key is that here's 0, 0. If I draw a line from 0, 0, oops, okay. Do that again. 0, 0. Oops. Is right down here. Okay, that's the corner of the page in paperspace, okay? And we've used that variable to kind of move that around to move where this is going to start. And then the grid, the lower corner of the grid is at the 0, 0 of our block that we put in. Okay? And you'll see here's existing and proposed. One is Romanesque, the other is bold, and there's the station underneath it. And it draws the profile, and it labels the profile, and of course it opens up the window here, the size that I told it, and the location that I told it, and so on. So this is what happens with that sheet, that it just has a rectangle drawn at 0, 0. So let's open up another one. Open. Let's go to Profile 6. There's another one. This is just what I did was I took one of the ones that ships, which is profiles, I think, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I just took one of them and I did a save as, and I did a little bit of a change. I basically knocked off the grid at this side here. I did not do it over here, although I could. and then I could adjust the window. Let's see, what's the distance from, I'll use my typing to show you how long I'm doing this. Too long. But many of you are probably the same. Okay, that's 32. And if I say draw a line from 0, 0, you'll see where it is. See where it is? There's 0, 0 on this particular sheet. So that's where everything's going to be centered around. It's right here. Everything's basically going to grow up and to the right from this location. So this is the, this is the key, or I don't want to use the word trick, but this is the key. If you're setting up your own sheet, of course you can start with one of ours, or you could basically just go in there with one of yours. And the whole thing is, construct it however you want it to look. Maybe your title bar is over on the right side. You have different margins. Obviously, everybody's going to have their own with their logos and all that good stuff. Just remember the importance of 0, 0 on that particular DWG and how it ties into the rest of what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. Save changes. I'll say no. And we're going to come back now to our set of plans here. We're going to say profiles, draw profile, and we'll take the same files as before. And the only thing I'm going to change is this, draw sheet. I'm going to change it from profile 7 to profile 6. Okay, and all the settings. Now again, 8.5 to 1950 vertically, 32 units wide. The sheet lower X is 2.2 and 3. I'll show you how that ties in. But watch what happens now when we generate. Erase the existing profile so it knows what's going on, and we say, yeah, we're making a new one. And I also happen to know that this grid is 90 feet high, so I don't want to go to 490. I want to go all the way up to 530, which again, I just, I know that my sheet has 90 feet of grid, so vertically. So I know what to put here. And of course, this is going to, just takes a little bit of practice to get it. So centerline file, CL, and that's Russ. And that's all it really needs. And it says, okay, I'm off and running, and it's done. Here's plan and profile sheet number 1. This is the main sheet. That's the main thing. And you can see now the way this has been put together. Okay, here's your 0, 0, 0 was right here, so that's your bottom elevation. And your stationing starts at the same location, and I've got the stationing under here. And it just lays out the sheet. And here's sheet 2, which truncates at the end here, and so on. So any other changes that I wanted to make, I wanted to make from here. Maybe I want to knock the grid off the right end and put the elevations so that they are out here, like on this. Maybe I want to draw lines under these. Maybe I want this window to be a little bit bigger or smaller. Actually, I went to 530. It looks like I should have went to 520, so I gave you bad information. So let me show you. We'll make a change here. We'll go to 520, but let's make this window a little smaller. Okay, so let's draw it again. We'll say profile, draw profile, take the same 2 profiles, and let's look at our sheet. So plan view, lower Y is 8.5. Let's move it up a half an inch, 9. And we'll leave the rest of it the same. Actually, let me do this. Let me show you this. Here's the sheet lower X and lower Y. So this one's at 3. Let's move it to 3.2. See what effect this has. Okay. Erase what we have, and notice how this border has a kind of a bigger space on the top and a smaller space on the bottom. Let's see if I moved it in the right direction. 440 to 520. So I got that wrong. And the centerline file we want to use. I'm going to do that centerline file I want to use is Russ. And we'll crank out 2 sheets again, and we'll see what we got this time. So first of all, you'll notice that this gap is quite a bit bigger because I moved it up a half an inch. You'll notice that it ends at 520, which was more appropriate. And you'll also notice that I got lucky. And what I wound up with here is the spacing. There we go. 5x. At the bottom, here's that gap from the border out to the paper, and up at the top, from the border up to about the same. Now, I would obviously kind of want to measure that, and you'd want to plot a sheet out to make sure you get that. But those are how you start massaging each of these little variables, and to just get exactly what you want to generate. Here's sheet one, and it's really that straightforward. That's kind of the Carlson way. That's our motto. Is let's kind of make it easy to do, not too mysterious. I spent a little time making up that other sheet to kind of see what's actually drawn and where what 00 is all about, and so on. And then I went in. I probably hit process whatever a dozen times and try and change numbers and move things around. But now I've got it. I've got a pretty good looking sheet. Based on the years I did of production work and as a technician, this is kind of what we would generate. It looks acceptable to me. Each of you have your own standard that you want to follow, but basically, I think you'd be able to take your title block and get it in here and get something that looks pretty good fairly quickly. So that's kind of the first part of the presentation. We're just coming up on about 25 after. What I'd like to do before we're done is put in a sanitary sewer run with hydrology. That'll be kind of fun, and add it, because there are a few steps to that that I would like to show. So I want to do that as kind of part two. The other thing I can show, let me just show you this real quick before we take a little quick break for questions, is if I go to draw profile, I just want to show you, if I come in here and I just shut off sheets, they don't draw sheets. It's just going to say erase what's there. Give me the range again. Let's just go with 520 again, and you'll see what happens. Oh, I'm on the paper space. I need to go to model space. Sorry. Do that again. Draw profile and shut off sheets. Okay. Go, and again we'll go to 520. I needed to switch over to model space first. And what you see is this nice preview stuck on my crosshairs, a nice little white floating box that says here's your profile, and I just pick a location and draw, and it's done. That's it. In model space, everything's all labeled up, and again, all the variables are there. But basically, I just wanted to show that's perfectly acceptable. Instantaneous, easy to do. And if you want to, go into a layout and set up some viewports, and if you're comfortable doing it that way, and then window up on what you need, or for whatever other reason you need to just generate this profile in model space, or a whole list of reasons. Maybe you like to generate your profile in a separate drawing. I could open up a new drawing and do this exact same thing. You just wouldn't have plan view sitting here. You'd have just this. I can do this in any drawing just by pointing to the files that I want to draw. So maybe you work that way. Maybe you have a separate drawing for your profiles, so that somebody can do all the drafting cleanup. So you want a separate drawing so that person has a separate drawing to work in. Very easy to do. So I just wanted to show you that as well. So I think at this point I'm going to pause for a second and see, Lad, how we doing? Anything that you want to jump in and add, or any questions you'd like that have come up you want to read out?
I had a variety of questions coming in. The last one was asked was if the profile can be drawn in paper space or only in model space, and it looks like in that case, if you are currently in a layout, it will go to the model space view. So I'll type that in there just so we have that on.
Yeah. So if you're right, sorry. So if you just shut off draw sheets, as we just did, then it's going to draw in model space, and the only mistake I made was I was on a layout when I did that, and it started to draw it on the layout. So I just needed to switch to model space before I did that. It draws in your current space. So that's the answer to that one. And a lot of people work this way. I mean, the whole key is that as we know from and all of the hundreds of shops that I was in and out of training, and everybody's got their own unique way of doing stuff. There are certain things in general, but clearly, certainly just the look of the title block. And this is what makes firms unique too. Is their sheets look different from there. Sorry. Go ahead. What else you got?
Well, let's see. Some other questions revolved around like the name of your title block, the drawing that you had. Can that be located on a server location? And does it have to be called profile, for example? So those can be put on a server location. You just have to have your AutoCAD path to go and find those drawings, whatever they're called, in whatever location. You just need to append that to your AutoCAD search path.
Well, actually, I think I'm going to interrupt you there. I don't want to disagree with you, but when you come in here, block name, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can just go anywhere. So you really doesn't have to be in the AutoCAD search path really at all. And I'm not splitting hairs here. I just mean you don't really.
Oh, sure.
You know what I'm saying? It's just you can say, okay, I want to go out to the Z drive and I want to get a file called ABC title block. So the answer is the name. It's whatever you want to call it and wherever you want to put it, and all you do is browse and go find it. Okay?
Good clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. And you're welcome. What else you got?
We also had a question on can grades along a vertical curve be placed onto a profile at a user-specified interval, say like every 25 feet.
Lad, I apologize. Let me interrupt again because I'm going to put you on speakerphone. So Dave's here with me, but I'm on a headset, so he can't hear these questions. So let me see what happens if I go to speakerphone. Am I going to lose everything? Could be bad. Well, the question is, could you repeat the question, Lad?
Yeah, if you go into, for example, you've got your key points shown there in terms of the VPI and the vertical point of curvature, vertical point of tangency. The question was centered around having intermediate stations and elevations labeled on that vertical curve. And I believe if you go into the draw profile command underneath the profile label settings, there is an option that you can enable that allows you to specify how often and what kinds of stations these labels should be placed at.
I'm going to go ahead and give this to Dave.
Well, you can label the elevations along the horizontal axis at an interval. For the next release, we're working on options to label elevations at an interval along the profile, especially in the vertical curve station range.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave. Okay. I just am afraid to switch the phone around to speakerphone, and because if I disconnect, it could be ugly. So just kind of sharing a headset here. So. There's the answer to that one. And we got any more you want to do right now, or should I go ahead and...
That's pretty much got them all wrapped up.
You got them? Okay. All right. Excellent. Well, let me do a little bit more. It's about 12:35. Let me go through adding a pipe run, which will kind of be a little bit of a segue over to hydrology, but just a very short one. And then we'll add it to our profile, which will be back on topic again. So, and I've got Dave here at my side here in case I get stuck on anything. But I think we got this pretty straightforward. So let me go back and show you in road network. Here's our road network, and here's our output, and here's our output options, and we're going to right of the road network, we're going to triangulate and contour a surface, which we're going to I happen to be calling RDSS, roads, .tin. All right, so the point here is we're generating a surface of our roads. Now, we could also merge that with existing and make one giant surface of the whole site with the road pasted in and so on. I'm not going to do that right now, but we do have a surface that's being generated for the roads. And let me just go ahead and reprocess so we can see that. You'll see if you watch closely, you'll see the contours disappeared and came back. It's pretty quick, but there's our road, there's our proposed road surface, and of course all the RoadNet stuff you've seen before, and hopefully that's how that works. So there's our road surface, and we can look at it in 3D. Want to take a quick look at that? Sure. Surface, 3D, viewer, surface, viewer. spectacular, but there's our road. We'll look at this thing and see it's got some curbs and stuff where light source around a little. Okay, so there's our road network surface generated by RoadNet. Okay, so now we're going to jump over here to hydrology, and I would be remiss if I were not to say that the exciting news for the balance of the year is the Civil Suite is 1995. So Civil, Survey, Hydrology, and GIS, list price totaling $5,000, typically $3,500 for the suite, on sale for $19.95 for the balance of the year. So when I segue over to hydrology to put in this run, you'll see this is a piece that you might want to add. Civil would be $1,500 for $500 more, well, $495. You would add hydrology and survey and GIS. So over in hydrology, we go to our network setup, and we're going to set up our network settings. Now, the first thing that you'll notice here, which is actually new in 2008, is we have a choice at the beginning. Is it a storm, or is it a sanitary, or a utility? And the idea here is, do we want to calculate flows and work with flows? And we've done, Bruce has just done some excellent webinars demonstrating this whole ability to use the tin to do the hydraulics and the hydrology and figure out which area drains into the catch basins and all that awesome stuff. What we haven't seen too much of, I actually have a short movie up on the web already up there. If you go to our movie section, you'll see there's one up there. But basically it looks at sanitary or any other utility. It could be cable TV. And I just want to put in a network of something, a linear network, and I want it to be a dynamic network, so if I move one of the structures, the pipes go with it, and so on. But I don't. It's not a flow calc type of a thing. It's just some sort of other system. So that's what I want to put in today very quickly, is a sanitary system. We need a network file. It's an SEW file. I'm going to make a new one. So we'll go live here, as always. I always like to be out there without a net. I don't know why, but it's just character flaw, I guess. So we'll say Web 7, we'll call it. Or let's call everything 1115. That would be more consecutive. So 1115. And what surface file are we using? RDSS roads 10. Okay, that's what we're using. Now there's other settings in here, design settings, connect structures. Drainage is off. Notice drainage is gray. We're not doing drainage. The pipe is minimum, maximum cover, and so on. Error checking and display foot per foot. So a lot of these settings are disabled because we're working without flows. So there we go. We're ready to go, and we're going to say create a sewer structure. And it says, do you want to pick, or do you want to use a point number, or do you want to use station and offset of a center line? So that's kind of cool, too. I could say, well, I want to use this center line, and I want to be 2 foot off of the center line or whatever. But I'm just going to go ahead and pick, which is the default. And I'm going to start right here. It's kind of a high point right here, and then it works its way down. So I'm just going to keep it simple. And you'll see as I hover, it tells me my XY or my northing easting, but it also tells me my surface elevation from the surface. Okay, and you'll notice if I try and move outside the road, it stops giving me numbers because there's no surface out. We're only using the road surface at this particular moment. Obviously, any surface would work, but ours is just the roads. So we come right into the intersection, and it says I'm at 480, and we pick. And immediately, as soon as I put down the first structure, it opens up the dialog or the dock dialog on the left and says your structure is M1. System A, it's a box 1 structure. I could change that. Maybe I change it to a manhole. And then I have a choice here for reference center line. So I could go ahead and use my reference center line right here. Oh, that doesn't apply to profiles. Okay, so we'll skip that. Thank you, Dave. We'll come back. I'll show you where that ties in later. The rim is at 480. It's 4 feet deep, and so on. Really, for sanitary, it's really pretty straightforward. I just say add, and I'll just put one here. And it says, okay, 475. And with the pipe, now I have a piece of pipe, and I've got a slope on the pipe, and I add another one. Let's come down here and add another one. And let's just add one more. Okay. that's pretty much all I got to do to put in this run of sanitary sewer. I'll apply all that, and I could move a structure, and the pipes would go with it, and so on. But let's just proceed with this profile, focus on the profile, so we'll say close. So now I've basically got a sanitary sewer run from M1 to M4. Now here's the steps that to include this in your profile, there's really just two steps that you're going to want to do. The first one is under draw the sewer network, is you're going to want to generate a center line of the sewer network so that it has its own center line file. Okay, this is right here, and it says the up structure is M1 and the down structure is M4. Going downstream, save it to a center line file. Okay, and it asks for a name, so we're going to call this again 1115. Just going to use that name so we can pick up. So this is a new center line for this pipe run. And okay, so that's done. So that's the first step. The next step that you're going to want to do is to draw profile. Save a profile, which is here. Export to profile, which is down on this bin. Now we could draw the profile, of course, and I think I've shown this, or others have shown this in other webinars, but we don't really need to draw it. We just really want to generate the PRO file. That's down here, export to a profile. So it says, what's your starting structure name is M1, downstream, and it says, now I'm going to write a PRO file. What do you want to call that? I'll call it 1115 SS, sanitary sewer. And it says done. So now it's written out that PRO file, and it's got a centerline file. And that's really, those are the only pieces that we have to do to get this to work. So now we jump back over to Civil, and we go to Profiles, and we say Draw Profile. And now the fun is we get to add our pipe. So we'll say Add, and we're going to come in here, and we called it 1115 SS, sanitary sewer. So we add that to our list of profiles that we want to draw. We're going to go ahead and draw the sheet. We'll go back to draw sheet, and let's see, make sure we're using the right one. So that all looks okay. Oh, wait a minute. Plot it 1 to 1. Oop, this was what, 2.2 and 3, I think, is what that was. So I had shut that off. We lost that, so I have to turn that back on. I think everything else, let's take a quick look. Everything else looks okay. Take another look at this. Profile 6, 9 to there. That looks good. Keep that at 1 to 1. We'll move that thing to that location. And now we're going to come into our sewer profile labels. And in here, we're going to say to station the manholes by another center line. So this is the key to kind of linking this thing up. And this is what you want drawn and so on. For the manholes, we're going to label them vertically at the manhole. Goes back here, draw annotations at the manholes vertically and so on. The rest of it looks pretty good. Label the pipes along the pipe. We'll see how these settings come out. The rest of it should be in pretty good shape. So I think we should be ready to draw this thing. So we say OK. And it says, do you want to erase the existing? We'll say yes. And it says, so select your sewer center line. Okay, so the first thing it needs me to tell it is, what's that center line file I built from the sewer itself? So I type C for center line file, and it was called SS1. No, it was called 1115, excuse me, 1115.cl. And the center line file for the reference center line, type C to go to the list, and that was Rust. That's our road center line. It says, okay, here's your range of stations. What do you want to use? And I'm going to go again back to 520. And then it comes back for one last time and says, give me the plan and profile sheet center line. And it is the same. It's the road called Rust. So there was 3 prompts there. And that's all the information it basically needs. And now what you'll see, let's go back to this main sheet. Starting right there at the intersection is where I started. Here's our pipe run, all labeled and tied into the existing ground. Let's go to sheet 2. And here it is again. And you'll see it's drawn these structures. structures, tied them into the, with the finished road, and so on. Now, in this case, I've got a label that wound up on top of another one, so I'm just going to pick it up and move it. And this is part of the beauty, is I know exactly what to do with this, is AutoCAD Move. I just take it and I say, well, I actually just put it, well, where would it look good? I'll say, maybe I'll move this one underneath, because maybe that would look, be easier to read right there. My decision as a drafter. But the beauty is it's AutoCAD Move command. It's just, it's AutoCAD text, and there's nothing here that's going to be tricky to deal with. So now I've added that pipe run, that sewer pipe run, to my plan of profile set, and generated that. So I did want to show that. It's really quite straightforward. A couple steps in there to be aware of. Once you create that network, that sanitary network, or storm, or whatever it may be, you want to link it to that road center line. You want to generate a centerline file of it, and generate a PRO file of it. So a couple of little steps in there, but basically ties it together quite easily. And I wanted to show that, and I think that's about all I think I have to show. Again, the key was to just show you how to generate plan and profile sheets with our software. And, of course, I guess I didn't even really point out the fact, as explicitly as I should, is it zoomed up on the right section of the road. Oh, yeah, I want to show shifting everything. Didn't show that. Adjust plan and profile. So you'll see that it zoomed up, and it took this piece of the road, and then the second sheet shows the second piece of the road. It's doing a D-view twist inside the window to get it to look good, but let's say we want to make an adjustment. So let's go to this sheet here, and we'll go to Profiles, and we'll say Profile Grid Sheet, Adjust Plan and Profile Sheet. And it's going to come up with this nice little dialog, and it says Adjust Plan, Adjust Profile, Adjust Sheet, and how much. Rotation is 5 degrees, up-down is 15 feet, profile up, plan up down, profile up down is 5 feet, and shift left right is 1 grid interval. Okay, so let's say I want to take this plan view and move it down. So I say adjust plan, move it down. It's going to kind of blink for a second while it kind of absorbs everything. Once it's kind of got everything, you'll see that this plan view is moving down. See it shifting down? And I'm just changing the location of the plan view. I can even do a little rotation here. Let's try that. There's a little rotation. That's pretty cool. Nice little rotation there. Cool. And I just make these adjustments. I can do the same thing with the profile. I can adjust the profile up or down. And move it. And I can, of course, left and right as well. So I can shift everything over together, side to side. Okay, so here it goes, moving sideways. Okay, so those are the tools that we have for making adjustments after the fact, and I wanted to show you those as well. So I think that's all I have to show you for today. Lad, any more questions that you've got that we want to cover?
Yes, there was a few questions that came in. One of them was, will sheets that were set up in 2004 through 2007, which I'm assuming to be the Carlson 2004 through 2007, work in 2008?
Sheet sets 2004 through 2007. I'm thinking what they're referring to is AutoCAD sheet sets. We don't have sheet sets of our own. Right, so I think what the question is using AutoCAD's sheet sets, which, again, running on AutoCAD, you can use any function in there, including sheet sets. We are not writing 2 sheet sets with our functionality, or at least at this point we're not. It's something we could look at, possibly, but we're just basically generating these layouts, and we are not using AutoCAD sheet sets.
Okay. Let's see, another question that came in. Can the station labels shown below the existing and proposed elevations be shown as full stations, for example, 1+00, 2+00 at the full 100-foot stations, and then have the half stations just simply listed as like plus 50.
Okay, so the question here, Dave, is for the stationing, and I'm just going to scoot these down with AutoCAD real quick just to show. At the full 100 foots, they want 9 plus 00 and 10 plus 00. But at the 50s, they want to just say plus 50. We don't have that, but Dave's on it. Good request. And you know, you've heard, I think, people say before, it's not like we really, I don't want to give the impression that we can do every request, but I can tell you that we are very actively seeking input like that, that says, look, when we generate our sheets, this is what we do. We only say plus 50 at the 50. We don't put the 9. Whatever. And as I said earlier, that's unique. But if it's legitimate and more than one person does it or whatever, that's something that we can look at. So Dave's making a note right now, and we'll see how long it takes him. We'll probably have it done by the time the webinar is done. We'll see what happens. What else you got, lad?
Let's see here. We had a question that came in. If the design updates, will the profile label positions or the drafting be reset?
If the design updates and the profile's updated, will the label
profile label position / drafting be reset?
Will the drafting be reset? Like when I moved that label over, yeah, it would go back. It's not going to hold those changes if the design changes.
Okay.
Not currently, but good suggestion. In the sewer network labels in plan view, so in plan view, you lay out the sewer network, which I wasn't really showing you much of plan view, but if I go and grab that label and scoot it over where it looks good, and then there's a change to the design, in plan view it will stay. But the labels in the profile are going to be recreated. So that's a good one. We'll put that on the list for next round as well.
Okay. Question was asked if we could take a poll as to how many people actually draw their profiles in paper space versus model space. Unfortunately, we didn't have that polling question set up ahead of time, and we can't ask it right now other than to say that everybody probably has their own way of doing things, and it would be interesting to find out what the breakdown between layout versus model space is.
It would be. It really is fascinating. One thing when I was doing all my training out there was, I would go out there with my experience and my ideas and go into places, and I mean, almost every place I walked into, they'd say, well, this is how we do it, and some of them were not the best way, but a lot of them were just absolutely brilliant that I had never thought of. So it is interesting to see how people are using the software. So a polling question would be a little tricky to put together. It's pretty easy to do, but I don't know if anybody has the ability to do that quickly. We got about 5 minutes left. In lieu of an actual polling question, unless somebody can really think on the fly real quick and put one up there, I don't know how else we could do that. We could do it through email. Let me give you my email real quick, by the way. Hang on 1 second. Let me just switch over here. Bear with me. I'm just going to come in here, and this was Todd's from a different one. I'm going to put yours in here, Lad Nelson. And your email is?
lnelson@carlsonsw.com.
Okay, so there's our two emails, G. Rosen and L. Nelson at carlsonsw.com, and feel free to contact either one of us with follow-up questions. And if anybody wants to use email, unless we get this poll thing set up quickly, go ahead and email us and say, yeah, here's how I do it. And it'd be kind of curious to see. What else we got? We're almost out of time.
Yeah, we still have some more questions coming in here.
Okay, we'll do them as quickly as we can.
Right. one question that came in, is there a way to get the elevation to retain what was last inputted when drawing the profile?
Is there a way to get, one more time?
Is there a way to get the elevation to retain what was last inputted when drawing the profile?
Oh, the elevation. Okay, so when the box comes up and says minimum, maximum elevation, which is based on the range of elevations in the actual data, and then I kept changing it to 520 because I knew you can have an adder. Let's just take a look. See if we can answer that one real quick. Oh, I don't want to go through. So here. So the adder.
That will take the highest profile at that.
This would be in like 40 or 4 or feet. Like, let me do. Well, let's do it. 40. Okay. See what happens here. I still have the pipe in here, so it's going to ask me all those other questions, but let's see if I can answer them real quick. Center line for the pipe, I think, was here. Center line for the road was here. Here it is. There we go. So it put that in there. So that's the answer, is to use the adder above and below.
Okay.
Right.
Another question that came in is, are the tick marks and stationing shown in the plan view? Or is
Yep, go ahead.
tick marks and stationing shown in the plan view?
Are the tick marks and stationing shown in the plan view would be, just for the road, would just be to station the road, which I didn't do, which is just going to be under center line, station polyline center line, and this is going to be all my settings for that. I'm just going to try and do this quickly, take the defaults for this road, and let's just see what we get. So there we are. There's our stationing for this main road with those defaults. Okay?
Okay. Let's see. Another question that came in is, in the second sheet, can the plan view be rotated to make the alignment exactly parallel to the bottom of the sheet?
In the second sheet, can the plan view be rotated
to make the alignment exactly parallel to the bottom of the sheet?
To make the alignment exactly parallel? Well, it's just a D-view twist is all we're using. So you could certainly D-view twist it. Now, in that adjusting thing that I showed, it was set to 5 degrees, so every time I clicked it, it was rotating 5, but you could certainly just use, for instance, on our view menu, we have twist screen, and you could say, okay, by line, and you could pick the center line and use it to set the twist screen in that viewport, and that would make it absolutely horizontal. So the answer is yes. If I understand the question, you could certainly twist it. It'd be manual. And maybe the person's asking, can the software's basically looking at that section of the road and making a judgment on how to set the D-view to get the best view of it. But then from there, you basically would manually say, well, I want to just turn it a little or whatever.
Okay.
If I understand that question.
Okay. Let's see here. The profiles in model space. Can you cut the VPs and layout tabs to see the profile?
The profile in model space.
Can you cut view in the layout tabs to see the profile? So basically, that's just the standard, mview command. Looks like.
Yeah, I would. Exactly. That's where. If we do that, and I guess I shouldn't go through. It might take too long. Well, let me just remove this pipe. It'll go a little bit quicker. Let's take off draw sheet and see how quick we can do this. There it is. Okay, so there's the profile in model space, and then I would just go to my layout, and I would say MView, and I'd open up a viewport, and I would go in there and zoom extents, and zoom up, and set it to 50 scale or whatever, the drill, above or below, or whatever, obviously, but certainly just manual drafting is certainly capable, allowable, and And, that's a good place to start. As you kind of warm up to getting Carlson to do it for you, you might want to, just know that you can just go ahead and do it this way. And maybe some people prefer it this way. That's perfectly up to them.
Okay. Looks like we have one last question here. It says, on the plan and profile sheet, is the plan view a viewport where you can double-click inside and freeze certain layers in that viewport?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. Let me generate one more time, and I'll skip the pipe for this pass, but I'll draw the sheet so we can see it. That was a good question about setting that default. I wish I had known that earlier, so thanks for that question. So here we go. We generate our two sheets, and absolutely, all we're looking at here is a viewport, just a standard viewport, and absolutely, we come in now in 2008. One of the really nice things of AutoCAD 2008 is we have all this control of the layers in the viewports far beyond what we had before. So we could always shut them off and on, but I can come in here into this viewport, and I could say the color, VP color. I think this one's just very cool. This kind of borders on display maps in a way. It's kind of an interesting overlap there, but here's my viewport color, and here's my contours. Let's take these two, and let's make them yellow, just so we can see. Okay, this works. There we go. So in this viewport, and this is the amazing thing. And let me just demonstrate because it's so cool. If I say M view, let's say I just want to put another viewport here, with a locus of the whole subdivision. You see the contours are blue and red, and in this viewport they're yellow. That's AutoCAD 2008, by the way. So if you've got AutoCAD 2008 on the shelf, take it down and at least use it for that, because this is a great feature of the new AutoCAD. Is viewport control is at a whole nother level.
Okay. And it looks like we have one last lingering question coming in. When you tell Carlson to draw the sheets, does it insert the profile into the drawing at 0, 0?
When you tell Carlson to do sheets, it uses 0, 0 on the title block as the lower left corner of the grid to draw the profile. And I think is the best way to describe that. And that's what I started with, was just that box so you could see that. So in this example that we have on the screen in front of us, oops, I'm messing up, but right here, let me draw a line from, 0, 0 on the sheet is well, let me show you this. I'll try and answer it this way. 0, 0 on the sheet. Notice I have a little piece of paper. This sheet's not set up correctly with a 2436 and so on. But the key here is that if I say draw a line from the insertion point of this block, it's right there. Okay, so this title block that's the insertion point. So I guess to be specific, and this is something else now. Actually, I never thought of, but this is something else. Is in that drawing, Profile 6, Profile 7, or whatever yours is called. It's not so much 0, 0 as it is the base point. BASE. You type that word base. That, I believe, is what it's keying to. I need to do a few experiments to test that, but that's what you want to play back and forth to discover. So basically, what you would do is open up that title block drawing and see where 0, 0 is, and then another option, again, that I've honestly not tried, but now I'm going to go try, is to just maybe leave 0, 0 and move the base point, BASE, and see if that triggers this correctly, and then that might be another solution. So that's an interesting question. I'm going to experiment with that myself.
Okay. Yeah, and it looks like one other quick question on that was when the draw sheet was enabled, the actual profile is being drawn into the layout view, and it's not a reference from the model space.
Correct. If you say draw sheets, I'll do, and this will. We're out of time here, so this will have to be, hopefully it's the last one, but great questions, by the way. I appreciate that. But let me just go back. This is kind of what I wanted to show you here. Let me just do it again. If I go back to this Profile 7, which is just a rectangle, okay, and let me generate these sheets one more time. I'm just going to take the defaults and move as quickly as I can. So here's my center line. Now I want you to see what this sheet looks like, and what I'm going to do is erase the title block. That's all that's in that drawing. I'm going to erase it. So you see what's here? This is what Carlson is creating on a layout for you. This is a viewport, obviously, and you set the size and location. It's putting the elevations. It's putting the elevations on the grid. It's putting the elevations of existing and proposed. It's putting the stationing, and of course, it's drawing the PRO files, the existing and the proposed, and labeling, and the vertical curve labels, and so on. So this is actually it. This is, of course, a viewport. So let me just erase that so you can see. That's what it's drawing on your sheet. So now you just set your sheet up with a grid or Pix or however you like to do it, and this is what it will place in Paperspace. Okay, I hope that answers that question. So does that wrap us up?
That wraps up all the questions that I've got.
That's great. Well, Lad, thanks so much for covering, helping out with all this stuff. I know you've done a lot of research into our sheets, and we worked together this week and got some great stuff going. So thanks for your help. Dave, thanks for your help. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. Sorry I went a few minutes over, but I appreciate your time very much. Next week is Thanksgiving, and I don't think we're doing one on Thanksgiving. Maybe Bruce might be, I don't know, but maybe he'll take the day off. I don't know. It's hard to get him to take a day off. So we'll be back in 2 weeks. I don't know what we're doing, honestly. I should know. I apologize, but it's on the website, carlsonsw.com. I will be at Autodesk University. Looking forward to that. But with the series, we'll continue. We have some good ones coming up. Just go to the website, and all of the recorded ones are there as well. Please email myself and or Lad with questions. Stay in touch. Let us know any feedback you have. We are anxiously looking for feedback, how to make things better. So let us know. So thanks for your time.